Deep down inside, I had increasingly begun to oppose certain military concepts of obedience, honor, and discipline like those that had been manifesting themselves to the end in the measures taken by our command. Was this only the... So this is we went through all this, and he's like, only now he's starting to oppose some of his military concepts of obedience. If this was an American... See, Americans are rebellious by nature. Like we don't, if you're leading us down the wrong path, we stand up and say like, no, you're not going to do that. Stop. No. He's, here going, well, they've done all this and only now am I starting to question these things. And he even questions his question back to the book. Was this only the revolt of my selfish instinct for self-preservation? Was it only an unsoldierly stance, fear, or cowardice at a time when things had become bitterly serious? Precisely at this point, I again remembered the awkward, deeply penetrating thoughts and feelings with which I had asked myself at the beginning of the war, why and for whom must you make this sacrifice? The same questions that had never really taken root rose again before me, gigantically and applicable to the whole army. Was there really a noble, high, holy objective at stake here in Stalingrad in our battle? An ethically justified goal which could be served by ultimate human test of giving one's life? Did soldierly honor and obedience to orders really justify this demand so casually made of us that we hold out for this lost cause, this excess of suffering and dying? Was this immeasurable sacrifice really decisive for the outcome of the war, and could it serve our country and our people? This is you want to know why we talk about the why all the time? There it is.
Yeah.
Now, he should have been asking that question a long time ago. And he said he started to. In the beginning, he started to ask that question, but he didn't go through with it. You know why? Because they were winning. They were winning. It's easy. Don't really need to know why. We're going to go out there, beat this country, beat that country, roll through that country. It's pretty easy. Not getting tested.
Yeah.
Back to the book. A foreboding I had long held grew into a terrible certainty. What was happening here in Stalingrad was a tragic, senseless self-sacrifice, a scarcely credible betrayal of the final commitment and devotion of brave soldiers. Our innocent trust had been misused in the most despicable manner by those responsible for the catastrophe. We had been betrayed, led astray, and condemned. The men of Stalingrad were dying in betrayed belief and in betrayed trust. In my heart, the bitter feeling of and all for nothing became ever more torturing. In my soul arose again the whole abysmal disaster of the war itself. More clearly than ever, I appreciated the full measure of misery and wretchedness of the other countries in Europe to which German soldiers and German arms had brought boundless misfortune. So he's reflecting and he's looking around saying, look what we did to all these other countries. Had we not so far, the victors, been all too prone to close our eyes and our hearts and to forget that always and everywhere the issues were living human beings, their possessions, and their happiness? So like you said, he turned a blind eye. He rolled through all these countries. He did all that evil. Probably only a few among us had entertained the thought that the suffering and dying being caused by our sorry profession of war would one day be inflicted upon us. We had carried our total war into one region of Europe after another, and thereby destructively interfered with the destinies of foreign nations. Far too little we had asked the reason why. The necessities and justifications for what was happening or reflected on the immeasurability of our political responsibility that these entailed. Misery and death had been initiated by us, and now we were inexorably coming home to roost. They were inexorably coming home to roost. The steppe on the Don and the Volga had drunk streams of precious human blood. The Russians were certainly also making cruelly high blood sacrifices in the murderous Battle of Stalingrad, but they, who were defending their country against a foreign aggressor, knew better than we why they were risking their lives. So, yeah, the Russians, they're fighting, they're dying for sure, but they know that they're defending their homeland. It's a lot easier for them to understand.